I observed one black triangle with the pulsing red light behind and the white light on both sides of the red one. This triangle was silent, traveling from southeast to northwest almost over my home, over 500 feet above. I saw 7 black triangles at different intervals traveling west in the northern sky. I observed one black triangle traveling east in the northern sky, and one black triangle traveling south in the western sky. All these crafts had the same dark-angled body with the same configuration of lights behind. I also observed the diamond object which I have reported previously.
I had gone outside my home in order to turn off a light in the garage. I was looking up at the stars and planets. My first impression was that the object was an UFO. When I saw the object, I immediately went to the west side of the garage to watch the object. I then followed the object as it flew across the southern sky. At first, the object was more brightly lit. As it traveled east, only 3 red lights and 1 white light remained on. 1 red light was in front, the second was on the side, the third red light was in back. All 3 red lights were on the mid-level. The red lights were blinking. The white light, however, seemed to be larger, did not blink, and was on the bottom. I could perceive the outline of an oval shape. The noise sounded jet-like. The object's flight was level, constant, and fast. When the object moved east, I lost it behind the trees.
I was at home when I saw the object, which I noticed first for its bright lights. I first thought that the object might be a star, but I noticed that the object would move around ever so little. The object also had lights that would turn on and off. I went inside after I had finished my activity outside.
I was taking the garbage up to the road when I saw the first one, then the other 2 at different intervals. I noticed these objects by the blinking white lights and red light on back of objects. The front of these objects are completely black. 2 were flying east. The first passed over me and continued east, before I saw the second flying east, not in the same flight line. The third black triangle I saw flying north by northeast. I saw this third black triangle in the western sky, not far from the object that I described in the previous report. Although I did not see the front, as they have the same speed, size, same back end with the same lights, flying at the same speed as the black triangles that I reported last summer, I insist that these recent sightings are also black triangles.
It was approximately 2:30 a.m. on the 26th of August. I had come outside my home to exercise my dogs and was looking at the stars, when I noticed what appeared to be a satellite traveling fast from the northwest, just above that horizon to the southeast. I was facing east, and as it approached my approximate 2:00 backward clock position, nearing the southeast horizon, it abruptly made a 90-degree turn to the east and then diminished from my sight. And as we all know, satellites don't backward change course.
Our observation of the UFO disc took place in Patricksburg, Indiana, at my friend's house, in the front yard, on a Saturday afternoon around 1315 to 1400 hours, September 1966, with a clear sky. Talking with my friends, I looked south and saw a black object coming our way. I knew it was a flying craft but could not ID the type of craft until about 1,000 out. It was flying low, passing over the treetops in a straight south to north heading. As it passed by, it was about 100 feet out, 200 feet altitude, no markings or windows, all black, and the only sound I could hear was the turbulence from the wind. Its size was around 100 feet by 25. As it continued north over the woods, we lost sight of the craft. Just as we lost sight of the UFO, we turned back south and saw 2 military jet fighters on the same course following the UFO. As the 2 F-4 fighters, flying in line, passed by, they were so close, I saw the pilot turn his head and look right at us. We knew about UFOs according to comic books and TV, but this was the first time we actually saw one, and my thoughts were, it's just a military project. Looking back in history and time, knowing a little about the military and the governments of the world, it's obvious we communicate with these aliens as we describe them, aliens of the universe and underworld.
The 1st of September 1978, 9 p.m. We were young and living off 241, within 0.5 miles of Cataract Lake as the crow flies. My mom and 4 kids lived with her boyfriend Blank of 10 plus years. Blank owned the Texaco station located between Cunot and Poland, Indiana. We had full service station, diner, trash routes and several rental properties. Mom did all bookkeeping for Paul's businesses. We lived within 70 to 100 feet of the Texaco station on hill. I remember the leaves were still on trees and we didn't need coats to take trash outside that night. We had a dumpster on right side of station which was directly across from our side door off kitchen and screened in porch. Blank, my older sister, had one side of can and I other. We had little concrete sidewalk we walked down dragging this can about midway. I don't recall which of us looked up first, but while holding can we both stopped. We exchanged words like "what's that?" I remember standing there. The object was huge and 3D almost. Totally black on bottom and top, rectangular. The sides all around were soft, almost mesmerizing. I never felt fear, just awe. At that moment Blank dropped her half of the trash can, twisting my wrist. She turned and ran inside yelling UFO or something like that. I don't recall looking back up again, but did put down my half, ran into the screened eye porch area and Mom and Blank were coming out. When I turned and went bad out the porch door onto sidewalk. It was gone. It was seconds and I was gone. No sound, no wind, no noise while it was there. Just darker than the night sky, almost like a void with very distinct sides with light show. I will never forget. I never heard it leave. Never felt the wind like you would from a car driving by that close. It was so close you felt like you could touch it. The garage was about 60 feet long. The object hovered about 2 feet from touching the garage's flat-top roof. It hovered, starting about 20 to 30 feet over the roof, but rest of its body was 3 to 4 times longer. The night of garage was 10 feet ceiling and had partial mezzanine we had for part storage. The garage back was buttes up the hillside that was 4 to 8 feet high. The object looked like you could step on hillside and reach up and touch it. It is feeling and sight I will never forget. Mom and Blank mentioned that same night there were other spottings around lake area and even it was in newspaper. Parents and older folks talked about these other sighting and jets went over flying low more than I remember anywhere, or more frequently than any place I have lived since.
The 10th of November 2016, 6:45 p.m. Gosport, Indiana. We stepped outside to have a smoke and happened to look up to the northeast and at first glance thought we were seeing a fireball meteor. Looking closer, it resembled a plane blazing on fire as it descended in the east very slowly like a parachute. Then it leveled out at maybe 500 to 1,000 feet and changed to a more direct eastern direction. As its descent slowed, the light went out. By then we estimate it was 4 to 5 miles away. We often see military helicopters going in that general direction, but do not know if this is related. We are worried that something may have crashed after it caught on fire.
The 11th of June 2017, 12 a.m. I was in Gosport, and was taking my dog out to do her business. I looked up toward the stars slightly east and almost straight above my head. I caught sight of what I first thought was a satellite. Moments later I observed 3 or 4 more orbs in the same area of sky. They seemed to have no certain path and changed directions at will. They did this for a matter of about 5 minutes. And as I was watching them, they disappeared one by one until only one remained. This one was on a heading toward the south. It stopped, then dimmed, changed direction and started heading north as toward Indianapolis. Then it looked as though it had landing lights and proceeded north. After about a minute it became extremely bright. Brighter and bigger than any star in the night sky, stopped, flickered a few times, then totally disappeared. I have observed these same type orbs at least 5 times in my life. Dating back to New Mexico in 1975, this is my first encounter here in Indiana. I wonder why this so frequently happens to me. It is as if they are putting on a show for me. Maybe it is because of my love for the beauty of a night sky, and I just look to the skies more often than most, not sure.
1989-09-006 p.m. Gosport, Indiana. In the late 80s, I was driving to a friend's house east on State Road 42. I saw an object off in the distance to the southeast, noted that it was unusual, and it seemed to be watching me. It stayed with me at a distance until I turned north into the Reelsville area, then I lost sight of it. I am not good with directions but trying, sorry. Anyway, I left my friend's house and started driving back west on St. Road 42. I turned right southwest towards Cataract Road where we lived at the time. The road went downhill and then into an S-shaped bend in the road with fields on each side. To my right I could see the triangle-shaped vehicle just hovering above ground, maybe 15 to 20 off the ground. It could have been a little higher but not much. I could have easily driven right underneath it. It was a black triangle shape with 3 lights running down each side on the bottom. The top may have been slightly illuminated, but I am not for certain. It made no sound. I was absolutely not afraid at all. I made a mental note that I saw it and moved on. I never discussed it with my family at that time. There was always something odd happening in that area, and that was just one more thing. Years later I mentioned it to my sister. She confessed that she had seen it hovering over our house that night. She told me there were others in the area that had seen it as well. I haven't seen anything like it since that time.
Year, 1998 SEASON, Fall Month, September Date, 12 STATE, Indiana County, Owen County. Location details. Within boundaries of Wolf Cave Nature Preserve at McCormick's Creek State Park near Spencer, Indiana. Nearest town, Spencer. Observed. A very low moan, howl was heard with a duration of 5 or 6 seconds. This initial moan was followed by a dog barking and a number of shorter low grunt-like sounds. The sound was at an estimated distance of 100 yards to 500 yards northwest of our position. Other witnesses, myself 28, a brother-in-law 33, and our 2 4-year-olds, boy and girl, decided to take a nighttime hike to Wolf Cave, which is about 3/4 mile from the family camping area of McCormick's Creek State Park. Our group hiked to the cave and briefly explored the mouth of the cave. The children wanted to go into the cave, but the dads, not being in the mood to crawl around in the dirt at night, decided no one would go far into the cave. We sat in the cave mouth talking for about 10 minutes and then decided to hike back. About 1/10 of a mile from the cave, the moan was heard by the 2 fathers in the direction of behind us to the right. I initially heard the sound quite clearly, but not wanting to alarm the children, I said nothing. About 2 seconds after the noise, my brother-in-law, a LT in the U.S. Army, asked me what the sound was. I replied, "I don't know." We then heard a dog bark farther away and some short deep noises in the vicinity of the first moan. He then asked me if I thought the sound was made by an animal, and I again replied, "I don't know." About 10 steps later I suggested we put children on our shoulders and make some time. He agreed. No further sounds were heard. Time and conditions. The time was approximately 10:30 p.m. Central Daylight Saving Time environment. The terrain inside Wolf Cave Nature Preserve is thick deciduous forest, mostly ash and oak. Like much of southwest Indiana, the area is very hilly and filled with many ravines, limestone rock outcroppings and cliffs. The cave and surrounding area is quite heavily visited during the day. The cave itself is small and had nothing to do with the sound. The Owen State Forest borders the park, and the whole region is fairly roadless and borders the White River. When the sound was heard by our party, we were walking up the side of a ravine near the back of the preserve.
Star makes 90-degree turn, Owen County, Spencer, Indiana, August 26, 2007 time. 2 a.m. I had just went outside to exercise my dogs. I was looking at the stars when I noticed what appeared to be a satellite traveling fast from the northwest, just above the southwest horizon. I was facing east, and as it approached my approximate 2 o'clock position, nearing the southeast horizon, it abruptly made a 90-degree turn to the east and then diminished from my sight. MUFON report.